Since I've really gotten into speedrunning, specifically Mario 64 speedrunning, this video popped up on my For You page, and I was intrigued. It's called Obvious Cheater Fakes Blindfolded Super Mario 64 Speedrun. Let's have a watch.
Despite the immense popularity of Super Mario 64 speedrunning, there is a comparatively small amount of people running the blindfolded categories, a testament to how difficult blindfolded speedrunning really is. And so it was surprising when I was on Twitch this week and was notified of another runner doing blindfolded 16-star runs. Blindfolded runs of Super Mario 64.
I thought I saw his eyes for a sec. Imagine if it was that obvious.
Dedicated group of runners. However, there are clear differences between the runs that those already established players have done and the runs that this particular person is completing. The main difference, of course, being that this particular runner is creating fake runs and attempting to pass them off as real. I have here a video of one of these runs, and I aim to show some of the clear discrepancies between this run and the genuine blindfolded runs of SM64 that are out there. When watching this run, it's important to note that the author claims not to have practiced blindfolded speedrunning much at all, and that this is apparently only his third blindfolded run.
Third blindfolded run, damn.
He's been playing Super Mario 64 for the past 3.5 years. However, it should be noted that despite the amount of time he has spent on the game, the best time on a run he has currently submitted is in 1826, a relatively mid-level time for 16-star. The first thing that actually put me off when I was watching this run was the fact that the streamer had both follow alerts and text-to-speech alerts on.
Let's go.
Thank you for the follow.
If you've ever seen a blind...
Is that... No, wait, that's bad because you have to listen, right? Because you're blindfolded. I think. Maybe.
Blindfolded speedrun before, you will know that runners pretty much always have these kind of sound alerts turned off. Considering how important sound cues are when you literally can't see, you would think that he would do the same. However, this guy is so good, he apparently doesn't even need clear sound cues to do the run. Throughout this run, he also attempts multiple times to explain the strategies that he's been using, except there are multiple problems with what he's saying versus the things he's actually doing. He mainly claims to be using a combination of sound cues
I'm going
and
off,
muscle
all
memory
good.
for most of his
Have a go
strats.
on, Hamat.
Most speedrunners know, however, that visual cues in particular are just as important as muscle memory in many cases. It's very unrealistic to assume that anyone could just casually do a blindfolded run off of visual muscle memory alone, no matter how long that person has been
Got a nice
playing.
evening playing with my GF. Awesome. That's hype. Same, except no. Well, no. I don't have a girlfriend. Camille and I, we're not dating. You know that. See you next time. Bye bye. Have a good one, Hamat.
I've tried to do stars. I can't do 1-star blindfolded. Like, even though I've played this game for years and years and years, even trying to do 1-star blindfolded,
I could not imagine how hard it is to do a blindfolded run.
Blindfolded speedrun.
I'm struggling enough to do the regular runs.
Strategies. A normalized strategy is any strat that is done in such a way that the outcome is always exactly the same. In Super Mario 64, many of these kinds of strategies can be employed. For example, moving in a cardinal direction on a controller with notches, using 2 slow walks to ledge grab at the corner of a platform, or punching against a wall to push Mario backwards a fixed distance are all normalized strats. As you can imagine, these kinds of strats are often completely different from the ones you would see in a normal run, and require hundreds of hours to properly learn. And yet
Okay, that
this
was
person
sick.
is claiming to have a 33-minute time after openly admitting to having little to no preparation. Keep that in mind when you look at the so-called blindfolded strats that are claimed to be employed here. The run begins in Babomb Battlefield with Behind the Chain Chomp's Gate. Looking at a legitimate example by Bubzia, you can see that a consistent setup with clear intention is being used in order to get onto the Chain Chomp's pole. Note the use of a notched angle and fixed camera in order to guarantee a direct path to the pole from the corner of the gate. Comparatively, this runner seemed to have absolutely no normalized setup whatsoever. He takes what looks like either an intentional death or a legitimate mistake, and then tries again a second time. This time around, he seems to be
The classic, oh, I'm going to just play a little worse. Just pretend to be a little worse than I am, all right? For, throw for content. Just so it seems like it's legit because I'm failing.
almost completely different, yet still a normalized setup to get onto the pole. The unexpected hit that he takes here from the Chain Chomp should have immediately thrown him off, and yet he is somehow still able to turn around and recover. The runner seems to be using intentional mistakes along with...
Who is he trying to fool? I don't even do blindfolded runs. I could tell that was bullshit, all right? No way in hell he knows.
Actually blindfolded. Many more of these will come up throughout the run.
There was nothing to indicate that was where the pole was.
However, the first
How did he know?
A massive red flag appears in Whomps Fortress when the runner decides to opt for Owlless, a strat usually reserved for sighted runs. It should be noted how much the runner is talking during this very input-heavy and spacing-dependent section.
Did I check for saves? No.
Because I don't save the game.
Again, anyone who has watched a real blindfolded speedrun before knows how quiet runners tend to be during difficult sections. With how much focus and skill are required to complete a blindfolded run, it's an anomaly that this runner with barely any practice is so casually able to do a strat that no other blindfolded runner has attempted. And yet with absolutely no normalized strats, he seems to do everything with some relative ease. Looking at a run that this same runner has done without a blindfold, you can actually see that he can do the exact same movements, blindfold or not. His muscle memory must really be that good.
Interesting.
On his first attempt, he is able to triple jump wall kick up to the floating island without giving himself any sort of indication where he is.
Yeah, and he knows exactly where to point the
With
camera.
normalization, he's able to attempt and fail owlless 3 times before finally landing it a 4th time. He even comments on the fact that he should probably learn how to use the owl blindfolded.
Maybe I should learn how to just ride the owl blindfolded.
It's anyone's guess why he didn't opt to learn this much more consistent strat in the first place. In the next star, he goes for the traditional cannonless setup that you would normally see in most sighted runs. Once again, looking at a blindfolded version of this strat, there is a clear intention with every input.
I swear to God, if he gets it
normalize
first try
movements and learn
blindfolded,
setups.
blindfolded.
Looking back at this run, however, the movement across the falling bridge...
If you guys saw my
and
stream
plank
where I
is
tried
extremely
speedrunning this game for the
wobbly
first
and
time, it took me
very
like 20
inconsistent.
minutes to get
He then
cannonless.
lines up next to the plank using these extremely small adjustments that have no audio cues whatsoever. Anyone that runs this game or has even tried this trick before knows that it's pretty precise. The
Yep.
only possible way anyone could do it blindfolded with movement used
First
here
try.
is if they weren't actually blindfolded.
Who is this
at all,
motherfucker trying to
and were
fool?
instead using a distinctly visual cue. The run only gets more and more suspicious from this point onward. Following a couple more extremely wonky and unnormalized setups in Cool Cool Mountain, we reach Bowser in the...
How did... Yeah, how
Following
did...
a couple more extremely wonky and
He knew
unnormalized setups in
exactly
Cool
what the
Cool Mountain,
penguin was
we
after he
reach
missed
Bowser
it.
in the Dark World, the first Bowser stage. Here, only a true gamer such as this man would be able to somehow sidestep this Goomba, quickly make his way up the path, and then do this long jump to the next red, all completely blindfolded and with absolutely no setup necessary. Simply amazing.
He could have, at the very least, try to make it look
I heard
believable.
Goomba.
He then punches a Goomba that he...
I heard.
And he knew exactly where it
He then
was.
punches a Goomba that he claims he heard, even though there is no good way of gauging distance that precise with sound cues in SM64.
Yep.
It would have probably been both faster and safer to just keep walking forward anyway. Notice then the small adjustment he makes in order to be lined up with the final slope. Anyone who is actually blindfolded here would have almost certainly kept holding right with no adjustment. And yet this man somehow knew he was just a little too far down, despite having absolutely no real setup beforehand. If none of this was suspicious enough, then next we have the first Bowser throw. Looking at legitimate runs by Katoon and Bubsia, we can see that a setup is being used to slowly move Bowser into the bomb without even throwing him. For a faster strat, you can also toss him a little earlier with a slower spin, which provides a much larger frame window than normal to hit the throw. It should be noted that there is also a consistent way to throw Bowser at full speed, using a combination of pause buffering and a sound cue. When Mario is spinning Bowser, a distinctive whoosh noise will play. This noise will always play whenever Bowser faces north, regardless of the camera angle or Bowser's orientation when grabbing him. Furthermore, the whoosh will make a slightly different sound depending on what frame you pause on. This is the strategy that Nobori implements, and it's how he's able to consistently pause buffer a B press to throw Bowser into the bomb.
That makes sense.
However, it seems like this runner couldn't be bothered to learn any of these strats. He instead opts to throw Bowser in a
Nerds.
conventional way, while claiming to also be using the sound cue.
Facts.
Notice, however,
I'd rather be a
there's
cheater
also
than a
option to turn his
nerd.
camera towards the bomb.
That's
At
probably what
this point,
Dr. Disrespect
turning the
says
camera
whenever
towards
people
space
hate on
does
him.
not affect the timing of any audio cues, and so it would be pointless to do this if the runner was truly blindfolded. It's pretty obvious here that he's just turning the camera so he can visually see when to throw. Moving on
Yep.
to basement, we see another series of extremely suspicious and inconsistent setups. In Shifting Sandland, he is somehow able to get the Talon Star using a strategy only viable for visual runs. The amount of adjustment needed to long jump to the Fly Guy and twirl over to Klepto is simply too precise to be done consistently in a blindfolded run. That doesn't
Interesting.
stop this guy though. He's able to do it first try with no issues. In Hazy Maze Cave, however, he reverts back to setups that might pass as blindfolded to try to further sell the idea that he cannot see. However, the quote-unquote setups he is using make absolutely no sense. On the emergency exit star, he seems to have created some kind of fake counting system involving more unnormalized and inconsistent movements.
Okay. 1, 2.
He said he didn't
Compare
save the
this
game.
again
He
to
has
Laborious strat,
0 lives
which
left.
uses normalized
That's
movements
brave.
Along with the game's fixed camera option for even more consistent angles. Up to this point, the run has been extremely suspect at best. However, what happens in the second half absolutely destroys what little credibility it had in the first place. The last half of this run is so blatantly fake that it makes the previous 20 minutes look completely legit by comparison.
And... Yes! Oh, come on, let's go.
We now come to Myips' clip, in my opinion one of the most impressive sections of Blindfolded 16-star. Successfully
It's hard
doing
enough
this clip
when
in
you're
a
not
real
blindfolded.
Speedrun requires an extremely precise setup involving walking into a corner with the correct camera angle,
PTSD.
and then repeatedly re-grabbing Myips to achieve the correct spacing on the door. This is one of the most difficult and precise sections in the entire run. In the castle basement, even the tiniest mistap to the left or right can mess up your camera entirely, breaking any setup you may have had. This runner, however, throws all of that out the window. To clip through the basement door, he basically just runs straight at it and ends up in the right spot. No setup needed. Remember that there are absolutely zero sound cues here. There is absolutely no way he can know how close or far away he is from the door because he is using literally no setup here. The exact same is true for his clip through the 30-star door. Once again, with absolutely no discernible audio cues and no real setup whatsoever.
Like, how
he
dumb
somehow
is this
either knows
guy
exactly where he
to
is on the
not
door,
know
or just gets lucky enough to
that
clip through it after
people are
running
gonna
against it.
notice?
He spends
All right,
around
people are
30
not this
seconds
dumb.
here walking back and forth along the door, and somehow is able to find the exact right spot to make it through. Somehow, it still gets worse after this. At this
Oh,
point,
no.
he pretty much goes through the rest of the game without even thinking about what a real blindfolded run should look like. It really looks like he's just given up on trying to sell the illusion any further. He approaches the submarine in Dire Dire Docks from a seemingly random angle, and then tries to make it look like he knows where he is by jumping at it.
I slid off something. Oh fuck, am I at the submarine? Yes, okay.
The fact that he even says this is strange to me. There is literally nothing else in this level that you can slide off besides the sub, so it doesn't really make any sense to act as if he had to figure out what he was sliding on. He needed to make it look like he had some kind of cue to go off of, and then did the absolute bare minimum to try to make it convincing. He then approaches the back of the sub as you would in a normal speedrun, but he ends up under the fin, causing the camera to go in an awkward direction. It should be painfully obvious how bad this looks. A real blindfolded runner would be completely disoriented in this situation, and there is no consistent way you could realistically recover from this. Despite this, he is somehow able to loop back around at the perfect angle and lands back on the fin, once again with absolutely zero sound cues or any setup.
He's just...
Nothing suspicious to see here.
Dude, stop hating. He's just too good. He's
then
just
there's
that good.
fire.
He just knows. Totally can't see. It's just muscle memory, man.
Literally just muscle memory.
How did I know he was gonna
So
say
after some more fake
that?
strats and piracy, one fake Bowser throw setup, and some suspicious BLJ lineups, we finally come to what manages to be the worst part of the run by far. This run's Bowser in the Sky is pure gold. It contains such a large amount of glaring flaws and inconsistencies that it's insane that anyone could look at it and believe that the person playing could not actually see. He immediately starts the course with, again, completely unnormalized strats, moving through the course with small adjustments that have seemingly no explanation. He then commits what is possibly the most obvious and completely shameless move in the entire run.
Bro.
Fucking that extra life.
I was laughing my ass off when I first saw this. Not only does he somehow know exactly where the 1-up box is, but
He's
also
just
knows
so good at
exactly what
listening, he
direction
can just
the 1-up
hear
will
it,
go and
that
when
it fell.
spawns, something completely determined by RNG. Then, after chasing it on a moving platform for a completely arbitrary amount of time, he somehow knows exactly when and where to jump to the left. You don't even need to know anything about Super Mario 64 or blindfolded speedrunning to understand that what just happened is completely bullshit. Immediately after skipping the first 1-up, he messes around on the first rotating elevator, grabbing the next 1-up in the process.
Yes, okay.
All clearly a calculated setup.
Dude.
After this, he once again makes an intentional mistake in order to make people think he's actually blindfolded.
I fell off. I can tell I fell off.
You can just tell.
This is somehow the first and only time in this 40-minute run that he accidentally runs
I
off
came
of
back
the
just to say I
platform.
accidentally snorted
Except
cocoa powder.
immediately after falling off, he somehow also knows to
How
pull
do
back to
you
the right so
accidentally
he doesn't
snort
fall all the way
cocoa
down.
powder?
Only then does he comment that he knows he's fallen down, again with absolutely no discernible sound cues. Following this, he traverses the wooden platforms and tries to go for yet another 1-up.
There should be a life on one of
I thought bro became bald again for a
Really saw
minute.
this
No,
on
I'm scamming you guys.
but then remembered he was
Look, it's a
supposed to
scam for scam situation. I told you guys to subscribe to the channel. Only like 15% of you are subscribed. So you clearly didn't listen. So I'm gonna, you know, scam for scam. I'm not going bald again. Nope. Because last time I did it, my viewership dropped. Not doing that shit again. Look, if you can get it to a higher... Okay, you can't get it to 100% subscribed. But if you can, within the next month, get it to, like... Let's just say, like, at least 50% of you are subscribed. 50% of you watching are subscribed. Then I'll do it. Then I'll do it. But until then, scam for scam. Thumbnail had me what the fuck for a moment.
blindfolded. So he passes it off by acting like he knew there should be a one up there and goes back to grab it. Again, no setup whatsoever.
Ah, got it.
Watch now as he somehow knows exactly where he is on the spinning platform and knows exactly where the first pole is. Again, anyone who was actually blindfolded here would have probably just kept holding left and run off. However, this guy is able to make a completely random amount of adjustments to make it onto the pole. He then makes his way to the next pole and grabs the red, which he seems to be using as an audio cue.
Okay, I know what pole I'm at.
Then, immediately after jumping off of the pole,
How you doing,
he
good,
knows
sir?
he was
Doing pretty
just
good.
on,
What about you,
he
Aaron?
attempts to use
Good to see you.
bombs on the next platform to further determine his position.
We're just laughing at cheaters.
Should be like some bomb bombs up. Yes, okay.
This is absolutely pointless, as he had already just verified where he was. All he had to do here was hold forward and he would have reached the next wall. At this point, he once again reiterates the fact that this is only his third blindfolded run ever.
This is your second blindfolded run, isn't it?
Technically this is my third. The first one I did...
Pretty good
was, like,
myself.
I
Glad
don't
to hear
know.
it. Glad to hear it.
I don't remember how long it took me.
In the last 4 minutes alone, there have been countless points of extreme suspicion. From the moment he enters the stage to the moment he enters the final pipe, there is almost nothing that could be considered even remotely legitimate. However, the final Bowser throws that he does in the next 4 minutes are somehow even worse. He begins by grabbing Bowser using the normal visual method. Running around Bowser with a tight enough circle to grab him is something that heavily relies on visual cues to properly do. This is why in a real blindfolded run, a setup is used for the first two grabs that involves luring Bowser to a bomb from the edge of the platform. For the final throw, a separate normalized setup is used. And yet, after only one miss, this person is able to grab Bowser in the normal way, no problem.
Yeah, bro, I struggle with those throws even without the blindfold.
For the rest of the fight.
There's no
He
way
then
this
winds up
motherfucker
with a
does
throw
that
and
shit just
misses.
casually with the
Once a throw
blindfold
is
on.
missed, Bowser will jump back onto the stage differently depending on where he fell off. There isn't a very good way to account for this, so the only real backup is to run off and try again from the beginning. But this guy doesn't do that. He instead goes for a regrab and gets it, again with no setup and no sound cues. He hits the throw on his second try, again using the normal visual method of throwing. During his second throw, he stops and talks for about 30 seconds to explain how he first learned to speedrun
How often
blindfolded.
have you practiced outside of stream while blindfolded? A viewer is asking.
Actually not a lot. I feel like if I practiced more, I'd be a lot better at it.
Why is he moving the
Mostly
camera?
this
Why
is
does that
just
matter?
Muscle memory and listening to the audio cues.
Muscle memory.
But I've been speedrunning.
Listening to
like
audio
this
cues. You're just
for
talking the
3
entire time
hours.
and listening to TTS. Come on.
So like I could, and well, during streams I would like, because I knew before I did my first blind run.
That guy in chat, holy fuck, James, you're good at blindfold.
By just like looking at
Oh.
my first blind. During streams I would like, because I knew before I did my first blindfolded run stream, I would test myself by just like looking at my other monitor, or just looking at like away from the TV and doing the run.
He is once again constantly talking during a section that should take
Yep.
an extreme amount of focus to execute. And yet, he still figures out exactly when he needs to throw Bowser.
Oh fuck yeah.
And he was
After
swinging him
moving
for
around
swinging him
another
for so
minute, he
long,
then
like
gets
it
another
matters.
regrab,
If you
once
can't
again
see
with
him
no
anyway, what
setup
does it
or
matter?
any possible audio cues. During the final throw, he turns the camera not once, but twice to visually aim at two separate bombs. He then goes on yet another explanation about how he's able to do Bowser throws the way he's doing them.
So what I'm doing right now, the reason why it's taken me so long to throw him is because I'm trying to time it based on like where my thumb is on the controller, on the thumbstick, because that's
What?
typically like a right around where Mario is, like the direction that he's gonna throw. So I need it to
No,
be-
it isn't.
if I think the bomb is where I think it is, if the bomb is where I think it is, and I'm looking at it, then
Obviously, none of this makes sense in the first place, but he is directly contradicting himself here.
What is he
Here
yapping
says
about?
Something vague about using where his thumb is on the stick to know where Bowser is, which already makes no sense on its own. Except he also mentioned in his first Bowser throw that he was using sound cues.
Bowser is a little bit tricky. The sound cues on this is actually kind of hard. Okay.
This whole time, he's just been giving fake technical explanations to try to convince his viewers that he actually knows what he's doing. Except he also misses this throw because he was too far away to ever hit the bomb in the first place, something he probably should have known whether he could actually see or not. Maybe he's only pretending to be blindfolded so he can hide the fact that he sucks at Bowser throws.
Oh. Fuck, okay.
Fuck. I threw the thing off my mic. How did I even do that?
He eventually does land the last throw, luckily avoiding all the fire on the ground and barely avoiding
Oh yeah,
running
coincidentally, just
Nothing but pure
happens to
skill
go
and
through
game
it.
sense. After the run is over, he is challenged multiple times by one of the only doubters in his chat. He is asked to
Oh.
verify that he can actually do blindfolded Bowser throws, but refuses to do even the simplest test to prove it.
Interesting.
So would you be opposed to doing Bowser in the sky and throws while turned around with a blanket over my head? You'll give me $50 if I do it turned around with a blanket over my head?
Why does it matter? It's pretty much the same.
No.
Despite the glaring flaws in this person's gameplay, he has somehow been able to convince all but a few of his viewers that his blindfolded runs are legit. Messages in his Twitch and Facebook gaming chats show that most of the people watching him are completely convinced that what they're seeing is real. The best I can possibly assume in this situation is that he may actually be doing some of these parts at least partially blindfolded, only peeking through the blindfold whenever he's completely lost or doesn't know what to do. It's either that or the blindfold is just completely see-through, and his only goal during the run is to make it look like he can't actually see. I
I thought he was probably closing his eyes at some sections and then, you know, opening them again.
I can only speculate on this person's motives for faking these runs, but my best guess is that he's doing it for either the money or the views. It should be noted that during the run, the only way to communicate with him was to donate bits to play a text-to-speech message on stream. Considering the run
And it
is
didn't
fake,
turn those
this just
off.
seems like a scummy way for him to take money from people, but honestly, for only 1 bit per message, it doesn't really seem that bad. If the amount was
Still.
higher, I would probably have a much bigger problem with it. But whatever small amount of money he did collect is probably the least of our worries here. There hasn't been a notable cheating incident in the Mario 64 community for a few years now, so I guess we were about due for another one. By faking this run, this person has not only made a complete mockery of blindfolded speedrunning, but has also detracted from the hard work of people who have actually put in the insane amount of time needed to do this for real. This particular run ended with a 42-minute time, however he claims to have completed a faster time of 33:23, a time which would be considered second place on the current leaderboards. When asked if he will submit the time, however, he claimed that he wants to take first place before he makes any submissions. I trust, however, that the mods of the category are smart enough to see that any run he submits will be clearly invalid.
I hope.
Though I wouldn't be surprised if he never even submits a run, because he probably knows that it would never get verified anyway. If you
True.
happen to see this guy on Twitch or anywhere else, please just don't interact with him. I've intentionally left his name out of this video, 1 because I don't wish for anyone to harass him over this, and 2 because I don't believe that any cheater deserves attention past simply being exposed.
Wow. That's crazy. You could just feel the electrons traveling inside his N64. Wait, bro's reading the chat blindfolded? Wait, was he actually?
Did I check for saves?
Oh my god, how did we miss that? He did read a chat message blindfolded. The truth behind... Wait, he did an apology video? Re-upload, so he probably took it down. Oh no. Oh no. He did the fucking sigh. There's no way this motherfucker actually did the the sigh. He was better at studying to speedrun apology videos than Super Mario 64.
By now, I'm sure you've all have seen this video. And
Why was the ding so loud?
by now, I'm sure you've all have seen this video. And I just want to shed some light on that video. what you watched was an edited version, obviously, of my Blindfolded speedrun that was on Twitch. Now, what you may not know is that that speedrun was purposely fake. It was purposely fake.
Purposely fake. Yeah, fucking right. When that dude donated and asked, hey, can you do it? Like, turn around with a blanket over your head. I'll donate $50. When you went into panic mode, was like, no, I'm not going to do that. You had the opportunity there to say, see, I've been fooling you guys this entire time. I faked it. But you didn't. How dumb is this motherfucker to think we're going to believe this shit? People, man. Some people can't be saved.